Hello everybody, it's Richard again. Let's get back into the story. Let's get back to that city of stories. Watch the storyteller striding towards us. He's still wearing that sou'wester and that long oilskin coat. Now he's holding a telescope. Sits down, shuts the telescope, and he says, the problem with those islands is that once you're on them, it's very difficult to get off because the wind swirls around and around. And on that particular island, in the middle of the island, there was a hut. And in that hut, there were some people glaring at one another for a whole host of reasons. A woman who was weaving, staring at the princess and telling her she was a queen and the princess was her daughter. An ash boy looking at the princess and accusing her of being at the bottom of all his problems. And a mouse poking its head out of the princess's pocket and saying, if I might make a suggestion. And at the sight of the mouse, the cat began to move. No, said the ash boy, you stay there. We all have to get on with each other. Otherwise we're never going to get off this island. Otherwise we'll never get home. Thank you, said the mouse. Now, as I was saying, if I might make a suggestion, I'm a mouse that spent all my life on board ships, and my ancestors before me. And we acquired knowledge that nobody has ever really recognised. In fact, said the mouse, it reminds me of the story of the mouse and the lion. But I'll tell you that some other time. Because, said the mouse, I can tell you where to go to get to the nearest port. All we need is a boat and a following wind. And at that, the woman, the weaver, the queen, jumped up and said, of course I've got a boat, and I've got some sails. And she pointed to her weaving. Do you think I sat here for years and years, just passing the time? I have everything, but I cannot get off this island because the winds blow round. Well, said the mouse, it seems to me that as we were coming here, on the shoulders of those two giants, I overheard one of them mentioning that he had a big bag of wind. Suddenly, they all looked at each other. And the princess said, the wind. And the queen said, the boat. And they started to run, running out of that hut. The princess ran down to the beach, and the queen ran to a little sandy cove, and she shouted to the ash boy, come with me, I'll show you. We'll drag it round. And the cat ran after them. And down by the beach, the giants, with their legs stretched out, were gazing out to sea. And as the princess ran up, the giantess said, the problem with picnics, they're never quite as good as you think they're going to be. Look at this weather. You know, I think it's probably best if we just go back home again. The princess said, that's okay, that's all right. We just want one thing from you. Of course, name it. Will you help us with your bag of wind? Ah, says the giant. My big bag of wind, eh? It will be my pleasure. Reaching inside his pocket, he pulled out the big leather bag and steadied it under his elbow. He said, where do you want to be blown? Just let me know. And the princess looked down at the mouse. And the mouse, with his little nose, pointed in a particular direction. But wait a moment, said the giantess. Don't you need something like a boat? As she said that, round the curve of the island came a raft with logs lashed together, with a mast, and with a great billowing sail made out of woven cloth. Standing on it, the Queen. Next to her, the Ash Boy, and they shouted out, "Come, come! There's oars here," shouted the Ash Boy. "I can't believe it. There's a tiller here," he said. "I've never seen anything like this. How on earth does this how did you make this?" The Queen said, "I know how to do many things." The princess stared at her. And then they waded through the ocean waves and clambered on to the craft. The cat behind her splashing uncomfortably and leaping up until they were all there, and the little mouse poking its head, directing with its nose, and the princess pointed and turned back to the giants, said, "Blow us over there, if you please. That's the way we want to go. Blow, blow. That's the way we want to go. Blow, blow." And the giants laughed and chanted themselves, "Well, if that's the way you want to go, we'll blow, we'll blow, we'll blow, we'll blow, if that's the way you want to go." And with one great squeeze, the giant sent a great gust of air that caught them and sent them flying and skimming across the waters. Those choppy, white-headed waters. They flew, they skimmed, they touched down, they flew and skimmed again, and on with the billowing sail. And the Queen called out, "Hold on, steady as she goes, steady as she goes." And the giants were waving, already small dots, and once again the giant sent another gust, and again the craft blew, sweeping along. And they looked, gazing in amazement, shouting out at things they could see. "Look, look, look, there's a coastline there. Look at that, through the mist, I can see the cliffs, and there are houses, dotted houses on those cliffs, and little sandy coves and beaches racing past as the clouds shot overhead, and the waves leapt to greet them and to splash and send foam splashing into their faces, but they laughed, and the Queen was holding on to the tiller, and the princess was clapping with sheer delight as they went flying, and then she called out, "Look, look, look, there's a port there, there's a port." And at that moment, the wind dropped, and the Queen said, "Get out the oars and row. I didn't carve those oars for nothing, you know." And so they pulled the oars. They attached them to little rowlocks, and they started to row that beautiful raft. It was hard going through the cold, grey waters. Hard going as they reached nearer and nearer to that little port, and saw that there was a stone quay, and that bobbing there were a line of jostling boats. There were dhows and sampans. There were galleons and skiffs. There were fishing boats. There were canoes. There were gondolas. There was every boat from every land crowded together in that tiny quayside, and slowly and delicately they rowed their own craft until they bumped against the stone sides. And then they stopped, and they looked at each other. And the Queen said, "We seem to have travelled hopefully, and we seem to have arrived. But where, I really do not know." "Don't worry," said the cat. I'll find out. And with great relief, he leapt onto the side of the quay and began running. Yes, said the storyteller. The cat began running. Running into that little seaside port town to see what he could see. And what he found there, said the storyteller, I will tell you in a few days' time. And so will I. So see you on Monday. Until then, goodbye.